Hey, what's up? It's Phoenix. I'm going to read from my new book, Rebirth, out from Alien Buddha Press. I'm really excited about this book, and I hope you enjoy. Phoenix. The river flows, and I can't stop. It's the stream of consciousness, all the ways in which I change, whether I like it or not, all the ways I suffer, endless battle. Where do I go from here? Phoenix couldn't believe how far he had gone. He had been in so many adventures, he'd been in so many stories, and yet he felt like nothing had even happened. He felt like he was just being born. The Dark Kid spoke to Phoenix through Phoenix's own shadow. Tyson spoke to Phoenix through his own thoughts. The Snake Angel spoke to Phoenix through the mirror. Kes spoke to Phoenix through his poetry. Maxwell spoke to Phoenix through children. But sometimes it seemed like these beings, Phoenix's friends, didn't even exist. It seemed like they just weren't there. Because how could they be there when you are lost? But Phoenix couldn't give up. He had to push forward. He had an idea and he needed to run with it, no matter how hard it was. The river flows, and I keep moving forward with it. Phoenix was walking in a city. He didn't know where the city was, but he didn't really care. Phoenix never cared where the city belonged. He just wanted to stay sane. He just wanted to stay balanced. Because he was afraid. Because he didn't know. Because he was afraid of rupturing everything. He was afraid of the lashback that was society. The way society had punished him forever and ever. The way society destroyed him and had destroyed him and didn't care and wasn't sympathetic at all. No one cares. I feel lonely, but what does this even mean? Phoenix wasn't sure, but he wasn't sure that it mattered or that anyone cared. He looked at his shadow, saw that the shadow was waning, the shadow in the light, at night waning and straining. It meant the Dark Kid was tired. But the Dark Kid is always tired. He needs rebirth. He needs a chance to start over. There's a sense in which we know there's something wrong with the world, but how we have to keep trying anyway, pushing forward anyway, even if we don't know. Phoenix wasn't sure, but he wasn't sure that he cared. He wasn't sure that it mattered. So he continued walking, and that was when he saw the Buddhist kid walking toward him. The Buddhist kid wore his robe and was always barefoot, and he always looked innocent and little, and he didn't have hair because he needed to be intense like that. Phoenix rarely, barely talked to the Buddhist kid, but he hoped that was something that was going to change. He needed it to change. He needed the opportunity to be around his friends. He needed it, or he was going to die. The Buddhist kid had a copy of Zen and the Art of Faking It, which made Phoenix smile. It gave him hope. Zen Buddhism, Japanese Buddhism, all the forms Buddhism took, and the Buddhist kid understood them all. He himself was Chinese, and he was always mindful and calm, always mindful and full of life. "Hello, Phoenix," the Buddhist kid said. Phoenix just smiled. "Hey, man." The two did their street kid handshake. The Buddhist kid then bowed gently. Phoenix always wanted to call him a crazy Buddhist psycho, just because he was the furthest thing from a psycho. He had it together. He understood things. He understood how things worked. He was never cold, always alive, or cruel. He was always just. Right. "Why don't you sit with me?" the Buddhist kid asked. Phoenix nodded his head. They both sat against the wall of a building and stayed in silence for a while. "I wish I could rebirth, but I'm too tired. Buddhist kid, I'm too." Then the Buddhist kid said, "The bowl is empty, Phoenix." "Why is the bowl empty?" Phoenix laughed. "It's never empty." "The bowl is never empty. It's got molecules in it, which I'm pretty sure have quantum particles, which I'm pretty sure have quarks." The Buddhist kid just put himself in his meditating position and said, "Why is the bowl empty, Phoenix?" Phoenix wasn't sure what to say. It's as if there's nothing to say, nothing left to experience or understand. So he said, "I think the bowl is empty because there's no food." The Buddhist kid just observed this thought, and then he said, "The bowl is empty, Phoenix, because the bowl is always full." Phoenix laughed a little, but when he saw the Buddhist kid was serious, he didn't say anything. Because in that sense, there was nothing to say. There was never anything to say, never anything to feel, never anything to understand. Never anything, more importantly, to overthink. And wasn't that the beauty of Buddhism, of not obsessing with conceptual imputation, of always having a concept to describe everything? What was the point of Zen riddles? To remind you of the subtleties and nuances of life, all the beautiful things that came from the wellspring of quiet possibility and contemplation, as if you were Dogen, as if you actually understood Dogen, as if you actually understood the riddle. It was like trying to solve a koan, or trying not to crack open the world like a nutshell. The Buddhist kid just meditated. I don't have anything to say. And Phoenix meditated as well, because his story was more than he ever thought it could be. He knew he was always going to be a street kid, because that was his path. And so he just let himself be. He just let himself feel. He just let himself understand. He didn't have a choice but to eat from the empty bowl, to understand the emptiness of life, and yet the beautiful impermanence of that emptiness. Then the Buddhist kid said, "We need to get you to do something fun, good sir." Phoenix wasn't sure what to say to this. What could he do that was fun? What could he do that was meaningful? What purpose could Phoenix serve? "What do you want from me?" Phoenix asked. "You need to be reborn," the Buddhist kid declared. "You need a chance to rise from the ashes again. You need to be the firebird that you are. Give yourself a try. Give yourself a shot." "I can't give up," Phoenix said. "I just can't give up. That's all I care about. Hence why you need to be reborn," the Buddhist kid said. "If you don't mind doing me a favor, Phoenix, can you get to know your friends better? It'll be a top secret mission that the bad guy won't have to know about. A mission that will serve its function. Do you mind, Phoenix? This means you include Kess and the Ghost Kid as part of the picture, but it also means you get to know the Snake Angel and Tyson better as well. It means you experience life as you were meant to experience it. Intoxicate yourself with joy and compassion." "But I have self-destructed my life. My compassion, I have said, has made me weak, which has fucked up my possibilities, my life, my world, my realm. I need to continue moving forward. I'm lying." Phoenix said, "I can try." "Good." The Buddhist kid bowed. "It would be a beautiful thing to assemble your friends. They are all you have. They are your creations in a sense, as the Hindus would say, and yet they are your life, your companions and avengers through this difficult and tumultuous path, and you can't give up, Phoenix. You can't give up." Phoenix knew this to be true. All of this serves a function if I just... And yet it seemed to be too difficult for him to figure out. Everything came down to his fucked up filter with looking through the world, looking at the world. The way in which he felt, looking through the world and understanding the world, the way he felt as a human being, and how lonely that made him feel all the time. But was the Buddhist kid onto something? Did he understand something that Phoenix didn't? It wasn't like Phoenix understood where he was at in the story. It wasn't like he understood where he was going. He just knew these feelings and memories and this path was painful for him because he didn't know, because how could he know when he was so fucking weak, when he screwed up his life over and over again all the time, every day, when there was so much he didn't understand. But the Buddhist kid was right. Phoenix had to push himself forward. He had to let himself exist. He couldn't let himself destroy himself by not trying. Assemble the friends. Assemble Phoenix's friends. Phoenix's friends assemble. It had a nice ring to it, like in the comic books, which was beautiful and powerful. And it had been a while since Phoenix had been around his friends, because after his burning metamorphosis, after his adventures as a street kid, he didn't know what was happening and thus disappeared, and time merged and melted and became nothing and everything, and yet he pushed forward nonetheless. The eternal street kid, the eternal street teenager, because that was what Phoenix was, if he just allowed himself to be, if he just allowed himself to exist. That was what he needed to be. Let life be fluid, let life be powerful, let life be amazing, because to not do so would be to limit all that he was. "Meditate with me about it," the Buddhist kid said. "Let's reach the center of enlightenment together." Enlightenment. That sounded good. That sounded hopeful. Like the French Enlightenment. Like Buddhist enlightenment. It gave Phoenix a feeling of light and lightheartedness to think he could reach the center of truth with the Buddhist kid. No matter what about Phoenix was eventually tossed aside as nothing, Phoenix knew he was going to live his fate as he needed to, as he would do well to live. Because it was his purpose. It was his entire purpose. And he couldn't give up on that.